In about 10 days, Ross is gonna throw him away. I'm gonna be real with you, Screech. I mean, Meech. If Rick Ross, seeing what he did to you, because he knew what he was doing standing on the side of him, right?
I've seen a lot of posts about the Big Meech concert getting canceled. What I'm not seeing is anybody blaming Rick Ross for this shit. Nobody is saying, yo, Rick Ross is your fault.
February 13th, the Big Meech benefit concert. It's gonna be iconic. Too many names to list, but let me salute some of the legends. Lil Baby, Man DLo, 21 Savage, Sexyy Red, Ricky Rozay. Now, this is the first time it's ever been done.
In about 10 days, Ross is going to throw him away. I'm gonna be real with you, Screech. I mean, Meech. If Rick Ross saw what he did to you, it's clear he knew what he was doing. Standing beside you, right? Rick Ross just pulled off the biggest finesse in hip-hop, and Big Meech is paying the price. I've seen a lot of posts about the Big Meech concert getting canceled, but what I'm not seeing is anybody blaming Rick Ross for this. Nobody is saying, yo, Rick Ross, it's your fault. The streets don't lie, and right now, they're screaming about Big Meech and Rick Ross. What started as the comeback story of the year has turned into one of the biggest betrayals in hip-hop history.
I've seen a lot of posts about the Big Meech concert getting canceled. What I'm not seeing is anybody blaming Rick Ross for this shit. Nobody is saying, yo, Rick Ross is your...
Look at Big Meech, fresh out, ready to reclaim his throne. Linking up with the biggest boss in the game, Rick Ross. Instagram posts, promises of movies, business deals. It all looked perfect. Too perfect.
Because when we was on the internet talking about the Cuffy case and all that, nobody even really gave a fuck. But now 50 talking about that shit, and everybody listening. Everybody listening, you heard? So, I just want to say, or I want to ask you, did you think that shit was a good idea in hindsight? Do you think it was a good idea?
February 13th, the Big Meech benefit concert was supposed to be iconic. So many big names attached to it. But let me salute some of the legends. Lil Baby, Man DLo, 21 Savage, Sexyy Red, Ricky Rozay. This was the first time it had ever been done. Now Big Meech is losing it for real. That massive comeback concert? Canceled. The $1 million deals? Vanished. His family is struggling. And where's Rick Ross? Nowhere to be found when Meech needs him. Most live tonight. It's gonna be live if it doesn't get canceled.
How you let that nigga get the show canceled in Florida, B? That's kind of diabolical, you heard? 50, that's some bullshit. How you let the nigga get the show canceled in Florida? Let's get that out. Oh, yo, he never ratted on nobody. He official. What? Jailhouse full of paying rent. That never ratted, wouldn't dare rat. But they butt. Cause you talking about he official. That don't make you silent cause you ain't rat. You shouldn't get no credit cause you ain't rat. You wasn't supposed to rat. You don't get no check on his resume cause he ain't rat.
This party's canceled until further notice. You're about to witness the complete breakdown of how Rick Ross went from Meech's biggest supporter to his biggest problem. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why Big Meech lost it. And trust me, you would too. But before we get into all that, have you noticed something off about Rick Ross lately? That shoulder injury that came out of nowhere, the way he...
You see what I'm doing right now? My shoulder broke, but we still getting to the money. We still count paper. This ain't a pump and dump, baby. We bossing all the way up. Get the address to the boss token.
He's been dodging questions about Big Meech? Yeah, that's where our answers really lie. While everyone was focused on the drama between Big Meech and 50 Cent, something major just happened that flips this whole story upside down. 50 Cent, who's been watching this situation unfold, just reposted something from someone in the trenches. Someone with real connections to both Meech and Ross.
His name is Rick Ross. But not only that, this Rick Ross claims that his whole identity was stolen. Peep the beard, peep the bald hair, the selling stuff.
This isn't just internet gossip or some random theory. This is straight from someone who knows these players personally, and what they revealed about Rick Ross's true intentions with Big Meech exposes a level of snake behavior that nobody saw coming. I've seen a lot of posts about the Big Meech concert getting canceled, but what I'm not seeing is anybody blaming Rick Ross for this. Nobody...
Here's where things start to get wicked. Secrets start getting spilled. Rozay says, Your Honor. Judge says, are you a kingpin? A bouche, if you will. Rozay said, no. The crowd goes, the judge said, the crowd goes silent. He goes, so what were you before you were a rapper? Rozay goes, a corrections officer.
He is saying, yo, Rick Ross, it's your fault. That's right. What looked like Rick Ross supporting Big Meech was actually a calculated scheme to stay relevant. Think about it. What better way to keep your name hot than inserting yourself into a years-long feud between legends? Industry insiders revealed that Ross was plotting this move from the moment he heard about Meech's release. Ross didn't waste a second. He reached out to Meech immediately. Let me break down what really happened. From the looks of it, Ross sweet-talked Meech, buttering him up with promises of a massive welcome-back concert. All the biggest names in hip-hop would be there to celebrate his return. The pit?
If it rattled like a snake, if it slithered like a snake, it's a snake. You ain't got to get bit to realize it's a snake.
You know what's crazy? We went to Meech's house. We sat down with him, Lil Meech, and I thought big things in the future was coming.
It would help Meech raise the money he desperately needed to get back on his feet after nearly 2 decades behind bars. A man who just did 15 years trying to rebuild his life, and Ross saw dollar signs and clout. What happened next? It backfired, and not just a little, it exploded in Meech's face when 50 Cent, the man who'd actually been holding Meech down for years, retaliated and exposed the truth. When we were on the internet talking about the Cuffy case and all, that nobody even really cared, but now 50 is talking about it, and everybody's listening. Everybody's listening too. And this is where it gets sinister. According to Zip, Ross pulled strings behind the scenes to get the concert canceled.
I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film. Which director? Shout out to my homie F. Gary Gray, Antoine Foucault, what's up? Tarantino. It's a lot of legends. This is gonna be big, I can feel it. I'm just talking.
Canceled, then had the audacity to blame it all on 50 Cent without saying a word publicly. If that doesn't scream master manipulator, I don't know what does. How do you let that get the show canceled in Florida, B? That's kinda diabolical, yo. 50, that's some bull. How do you let them cancel the show in Florida? Let's get to that, but hold up. Zip had more to say. As an industry insider with his ear to the streets, he dropped some hood news that'll make your jaw hit the floor. Yo, he never ratted on nobody. Here's the official. What's a jailhouse full of paying rent that never ratted? Wouldn't be.
You got 19 years of being incarcerated. That 50 could have took that and converted that to about 5 seasons and then turned around and then did the overall movie. He had a good 30 to 50 million he could have made.
Rapping, but is you talking about? He's official. That don't make you solid because you ain't rap. You shouldn't get no credit because you ain't rap. You wasn't supposed to rap. Don't get no check on his resume because he ain't rap. So, Big Meech's famous never fold policy, that thing Ross was hyping up like it made Meech a superhero, Zip says it was just an unspoken rule. Nothing special enough to build a who.